So, welcome to another Writerly Witterings, and here you are, at the heart of Jack's business. You're right in the middle of my office. Scary, isn't it? You'll see why it's so scary in a couple of seconds when I take you on a guided tour. A brief one, because life's too short. So, here you have the workstation of Writerly Witterings, which is deeply terrifying because as I look around my room I'm realising that I really am overdue for a fairly extensive tidy up and clean up because it's in a mess. But I did say I would let you see what was going on in my office. So here we go. First of all, let's have a look at my actual desk. So this is what I see from sitting in my chair. Basically, an almighty mess. So, down to my left, you'll be delighted to see this is my daughter's dissertation. Very good, and she sent it off this morning, so that's nice to have it out of the way. But my wife and I did have to do a certain amount of reading to assist her. Not that we actually did an awful lot in terms of corrections or anything. It was just we were helping our daughter. Aren't we nice? Underneath here, it's very strange looking through an iPad screen and trying to reach what's underneath. Right, so we've got Elizabeth, David Starkey's version. Very good book. We've got a book on all of the rivers in London that you can't see anymore because they've been shoved into underpasses and the like. This little red book here is a fantastic book. It's a compendium of dates, and by that I don't mean it just gives all of the important dates that you will ever have heard of. It actually has every date going back to before the current calendars so that you can tell, based on when Easter was, you can then tell whether the 23rd of July was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday. Everything like that is all in this little book produced by the Royal Historical Society some years ago. Excellent piece of work. Over here we have more research books. All of my books here is research right now. So we've got Tudor London, we've got a book on a church, we've got loads of other books about Elizabeth and buildings in London and how London was changed, and notebooks and pictures of parts of London are down at the bottom there. On my left I've got my free write because it's always to hand, and underneath that is, even more important, the Oxford English Dictionary. This is one of my Bibles. I have to have it to hand all the time because it's really useful, and as you can see it has lots and lots of words, and it's all photo reduced. By which I mean you have to get really close to see what each explanation for each word is. That's a bored dog. She's late going out for a walk, and so she's wandering around looking very grumpy. This is my standard bookshelf of essential reading material, which is things that I've got which I will need for the next book I'm working on. The next book I'm working on is editing my book on Shanghai, which I'm looking forward to, and these are some of my Shanghai books that I'll be referring to most of all. Now, of course, it would be a strange world. Oh, look, that's me being reflected on a very dirty screen indeed. Oh, dear. Anyway, this is a delightful little iMac. I deliberately got the M1 in yellow because yellow's a nice colour and it wakes you up in the morning, I find. So I like that. And then beside it, this is my father's old iPad. But it's just to show how I use an iPad now, because I'm currently recording on the iPad that normally sits there on that little stand, which is nice because it sort of matches the stand that the iMac comes on. Silly little idea, but it's good. So I can sit here typing, I can sweep across on my trackpad here, and that will take whatever screen I'm working on and dump it straight onto the iPad beside the computer, which is useful. And if I need to, I can move my little keyboard to one side and grab my blotting pad, which is up here, and then I can write with one of my fountain pens. Here are two of them. And as soon as I've written my note, I can just blot it straight on that blotting pad, which is very useful. For quick reference material, here we have the Oxford English Dictionary and the Thesaurus, which is nice. Two books beside that I've still got to read. A bunch of other books here that I still have to read. But if you think that's strange, well, let me show you something. I'm going to stand up now, which isn't too easy when I'm trying to operate a microphone at the same time, but I'll do it. So these books are also waiting to be read and reviewed. But so are these piles here, which are 1, 2, 3 piles of books that I haven't yet managed to get round to reading. Why haven't I managed to get round to reading them? Well, because most of my life revolves around the research, sitting here at my desk, at my computer, and luckily this is where I keep all the non-fiction books. So you've seen my fiction stable, now here's the non-fiction stable. So starting off with the history of England on the right hand side there, a few books on the Second World War, the Historical Society books going along the top, and then we've got quite a mishmash of different books. I made these bookshelves myself. They're adjustable, which I thought was a good idea, but the difficulty about making bookshelves is that all books come in different flaming sizes now, so it's not so easy. These ones are nice though, because the ones standing upright here on the left-hand side are those books where I've got a short story included, which is nice. So Best British Mysteries, Roman Whodunits and all of them, they've all got a book by me, a short story by me. Then underneath that we've got Medieval Murderers and more books, Murder Most Medieval, etc., where I've got short stories included. And then we've got the Templar series, starting with The Last Templar on the left-hand side and whacking straight across, where it stops being the Templar series and suddenly becomes the Bloody Mary series and Jack Blackjack. And then underneath is the rest of the Templar series, and then behind these piles of books I've still got to read are more books by me. So Act of Vengeance, the Vintner Trilogy, all of that lot are hidden behind Crown of Blood, Death and all them. What else is there here? More research material underneath, which is weaponry down here. So we've got guns and explosives, and then there's other bits of history book over on the right hand side, code books. These are of course all double stacked. Then down here there's more firearms. I don't know why those football boots are still there. I really need to throw them away. And some leather work. I make bags for push bikes and things as well as other things. So here are two of the bags I've got for my current push bike, with some roughs of manuscripts underneath there. Here's a number of my notebooks. William Hanna on top, but yes, rather a lot of other notebooks too. Sherlock Holmes, you can't have enough Sherlock Holmes. Inks, all down there. You can see there's Rohrer und Klingner on the right hand side and Diamine in the middle there. And then if I move over here, my apologies, I'm just moving over, so I've got to go to the standard microphone on my iPad, because the other thing I didn't show you was there's a almighty great microphone there, ready for when I can start reading my own books out for the delectation of the general public. More books here in the middle row. Billy Ruffian and the Cambridge History of England and all that lot. Now here is my stationery cupboard. So more Rohrer and Klingner, KWZs, I've got some Noodlers. Up at the top, I've got some research stuff. Left-hand side is A3 notebooks for sketching or for outlining stories. Then here we've got painting stuff, and this is one of the most useful little devices I've seen for a very long time. This is a lamp. all you do is, pardon me, touch the edge and it comes on. And it's got different brightness settings, but it works superbly well. I've been trying to do some tidying up here and I've pretty much failed. But what I have got here is some Simon & Schuster copies of my paperbacks. I like to keep editions. I've got my main diamine inks down here. I've got various, sadly, memorials to people who have died in recent years. Carol sadly died only fairly recently. I also have a very nice little set of inkwells with a candle. I like that. Different inks. I do love the Ackermann inks, especially these two, the Israel Seeblau and the Delftsblau. I am very fond of this Dusk, which is a limited edition with cult pens made by Dominant Industry. And then Arabian Nights, another shimmering ink from cult pens. Really good fun to work with. Here's a selection of pencils. Isn't that exciting? Then down here, this is where I keep writing papers and envelopes. Seems like a good idea. And underneath are my original, whoops, it doesn't want to focus on this. My original, thank you, that's better, headline paperbacks from the Templar series. And then just in case you thought, really, I've got enough books in this house, these are the other non-fiction shelves. So I've got a whole bunch of what I think are fascinating books. And you can see my books do sort of move on. It's not my birthday. That was something my daughter made for me, and so it's going to stay here forever. I'm not getting rid of it. That's one set, and then up here we have still more books with a whole load of Ordnance Survey maps at the top. That's nice because I can see how areas have changed over time by looking at different Ordnance Survey maps, which is great. Now, there's also rather a lot of window space in here. And of course, you have to make use of window space by growing chilies. These are wonderful. Those little devils at the bottom there are called prairie fire. And believe me, when you bite one, you know what they're talking about with that name. Over here, this is my strange certificates area. So NSRA congratulating me on 5 years as secretary of a pistol club in Caterham in Surrey. And then practical pistol courses and all sorts of stuff. These are where I store my books, which have to be sold off. These are the author copies that really I shouldn't be keeping. So if you want any books, do let me know. I have a certain number, and it would be really rather nice to free up a little bit of space in here. Now, there's one other thing that is essential in my office, naturally. And there she is. Good girl. That expression is extreme grumpiness, it has to be said. She's not impressed that she hasn't been out for a WALK yet. These books are DIY and essential stuff. With the odd dog book and fishing book. I haven't ever done fishing really, but these were my father-in-law's and I'm not going to get rid of them because I think they're interesting. Here we have an interesting selection of other books, Medieval Murderers, and basically foreign editions. Not all of them, but a few of them. So there's some Spanish ones there, the Martinez Roca with the purple bottoms, which I think are rather nice. And there's somewhere some books in Polish and Hungarian, but can't see them right now, so I won't worry about that. And then, oh yes, before I forget, there's some more bookshelves. Kicking the door open. This is the basic set of bookshelves. This ended up as a centrepiece because it was my father's, and I needed more bookshelf space when he died, so I stole them. There you go. Here we've got an interesting selection. Lots of books on words and insults, encyclopedias of gods, humorous prose, and then certain books on the devil and hellish Nell and things like that, which is always good fun, isn't it? And then we start getting more into crime investigation, police work, and things of that nature. Coming round the other side, Encyclopedia Britannica, naturally. And then here we've got crimes, we've got Russia and Putin and his crimes. Death Investigator's Handbook, always good fun. A complete modern herbal, now that's nice. British crime writing, I'm in there. What else? Hostages, the Medici conspiracy, that was quite a book on the outfit, which sadly I haven't actually managed to read yet, which is typical. DC Confidential by Christopher Mayer, that was an interesting book. The Complex, yeah, that was quite a fascinating one. And then at the top there's also a few general ones. So the Oxford Book of Villains was quite good fun. Various other books. Lots of things on poisons and so on. And on the top here we have some of my audiobooks on DVD and tape, as well as just a fascinating different set of books. The DNB, Dictionary of National Biography, I've actually got the full-sized version of that now, which is a bit better. An Encyclopedia Britannica, an old version, which is quite interesting to look at. So there you have it. This is a working writer's office. It's a hell of a mess, isn't it? I do apologise for that, but the trouble is I'm right in the middle of things. I've got too much work on, and taking a half a day to try to tidy things up is just impossible. So this is all going to have to wait until early in the new year, when I've finished the current book. Jack Blackjack Book 8 is put to bed. I'll put my teeth back in now. And then I can concentrate on things like tidying up all this office, which I did do 1 year ago. Hard to believe though it is. Tidy up this office and then get back to editing the first book in my Shanghailanders series, and then get on with book 2 in the Nick Morris series, the Art of Murder series, which I'm looking forward to, actually. It should be good fun. The first one was great fun, and I like Jack Blackjack, but I think doing books in the modern day is going to be a little bit of a holiday for me, because I don't need to worry about actually researching everything. It can be based on real people alive today, and I don't need to think so much about them and where they're going to come from. Anyway, that's my office. There's various other things I could talk about, but I won't. I've been wittering on for long enough already. So, hope that was interesting. Thanks a lot for your patience in watching it all. If you did, many of you might not have done. But if you found it interesting, if you've got any questions, do please let me know. I'll be more than happy to discuss things. I can talk about things like that sword there, or the sword that you might have noticed over there, or the assegai, or the two-handed sword, or the two shotguns and the rifle, or anything else really, anything you're interested in, because I'm happy to witter on. It's a form of work displacement activity. So, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for your support. Thanks for hitting the subscribe button and the bell button, and telling all your friends about the YouTube video where you can hear a rather strange fellow wittering on about writing and pens and inks and all that sort of stuff. I've just been notified that I'm going to get 10 or so bottles of ink from Korea early in the new year. I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to them enormously, actually. So there's going to be new inks. I've got some ideas for re-reviewing some of the older inks I've looked at, and designing a better means of comparing them all. Yeah, so I've got a busy year coming up. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you again soon in the new year. Thanks a lot and take care. Cheers.